20 global volunteers have helped to turn Manpower Island into one of Second Life's most productive, informative, and useful presences. It's worth noting that the volunteers and the staff at Manpower Island speak a variety of languages, and when they have visitors, as I mentioned earlier, there have been thousands of people who have visited from 50 countries who speak 40 languages. When I saw the list of languages, I didn't even recognize some of them. That's how exotic some of the people who have visited, and it's absolutely fantastic. This team uses translators when the visitors don't speak English. As we know, text translators are still sort of in their infancy. They're not foolproof, but it's something. And as Dan told me, people get excited that you even give it a shot. So Dan, can you tell us a little bit about your experiences over the course of the past year leading this team and what you've learned?
Certainly, Rita. It's been an incredible experience for my team and I. It's my belief through our experiences over the past year, we've defined a proven set of techniques that can produce a new kind of ROI for companies seeking to connect directly with individuals from around the world. So greeting, as we had done, as we were preparing to do, had never been done before. So we had to define what metrics we'd capture, what our processes would be as we learned, and adapted through the first few weeks. And we quickly found it important to record certain things from visitors, such as how they found out about us, who they worked for, where they're from, and most importantly, why they were there. So we discovered a diverse group of individuals seeking a variety of things, seeking SL jobs, those that were simply there to explore, educators, students, newbies, seeking assistance in their first hours in Second Life. We had real-life job seekers, Manpower employees, alumni of Manpower, and Second Life and real-life employers as well. And then we had, of course, griefers like many real-life companies do in Second Life. So we've had 40 different languages on the island, as you said, and our team currently only speaks 3. So as you mentioned, we use Babbler and Google Translator actually to interact with our guests. And while it isn't perfect, most of these individuals appreciate the attempt. So we've met individuals from more than 50 countries, and they obviously bring a wide variety of perspectives with them about the real world of work as well as the virtual world of work. So as I mentioned, there's individuals looking for Second Life job postings and Second Life employers looking for listings of candidates. And we found that there's a definite need for a trustworthy partner for these individuals to connect the two parties and add legitimacy to the employment landscape in Second Life and virtual worlds. Then there are those that are looking for real life and Second Life employers to take advantage of their 2D and 3D internet development skills. And these are your Java and Flash developers and things like that, as well as your skilled Second Life builders and animators and scripters and so on. So these are highly skilled individuals who are seeking flexible, meaningful employment with employers and employers who will compensate them fairly for their advanced understanding of virtual worlds. And these are the creators of virtual environments like the room that we're in right now, and of virtual goods, such as the items that were used to customize all of our avatars. The value of these virtual goods is increasing, and the individuals capable of developing these virtual goods are seeking to align themselves with a trustworthy partner. These individuals are choosing to connect with Manpower to discuss these and other issues, and we are positioning ourselves to assist them in their search for fulfilling employment. As millions and millions of individuals experience and spend more time in virtual worlds and massive multiplayer online environments in the coming years, we will remain in the places where real talents can be applied in virtual environments and the entrepreneurial spirit of individuals is encouraged.
Well, I just want to congratulate you on your staff and your volunteers because every single time I've ever visited Manpower Island, I have been greeted instantly by someone. And in fact, when we were putting this event together, there were times when I just wanted to sneak onto Manpower Island and take care of something quickly and get back out. But I've been greeted every time, and that's been true of every avatar associated with this event who has come to Manpower Island. It's instant. And I think that's one of the biggest differences, speaking of business models, is that you have people here who are incredibly helpful and incredibly empathetic to the fact that not everyone is familiar with virtual worlds and with Second Life. So as we all become more familiar on our own path, we tend to forget sometimes that people who are brand new have to start from scratch. And I would just congratulate Manpower Island for constantly being mindful of the fact that every avatar who visits is at a different stage of development, which is critical because as communities take shape in Second Life, they're made up of people who have varying degrees of ability and proficiency in world. And I think that's a very important point that we discussed.
Rita?
Yes.
This is Jeff, and what I think is important is when you talk about new paradigms and why things have failed or not failed possibly on a site, I think one of the things that we really looked at is to go to the deepest you can to your core of what you are as a company and still reflect that, but then reflect it in a different way. And what we said our core is that there are 10 million people every year that walk through our offices really nervous about finding a job and finding themselves unprepared or ill-prepared. And we said, okay, if that's the core, now how does it manifest itself completely differently in something like Second Life? So I think what excites our own people is we are staying true to our core, but now manifesting it in a completely different way.
I think that's absolutely true and reflective of every conversation I've had with all of your executives as we've been working on this project, all of whom have expressed that idea each in their own way. And it's very impressive that employees of the company themselves actually practice this in their own work practices, not just in the way that they help other people and advise other people to find rewarding, meaningful work, but also in their own careers. And in fact, I was just going to ask Dan about, we've had some significant conversations about the power of the metaverse to change our own perspectives. And Dan, if you want to just jump in on that a little bit, how has immersion in Second Life and in the metaverse changed your perspective in the way you see your own career? Because you work virtually now as well as, in the physical world, as we all do. When we work virtually, I often say I've never traveled as much in the real world as I have since I started a metaverse development company, because we travel around the world talking about ROI very frequently and meeting with clients. And so there's this dichotomy in virtual work where it's virtual and it's also real. So if you want to talk a bit about that, Dan, that would be wonderful.
Sure, I could a bit. It really all came together for me during the preparations for this event, during some of the times that we were meeting and sitting actually in the living room of your office and just having a voice conversation as if we were sitting in the same room. And really that's when one of the first times that it really hit me how powerful this is in comparison to even video conferencing, which allows you to see, an expression on the face of the person that you're speaking with. If you're able to believe that the avatar is a representation of you, you're able to relate to that avatar completely, including their experiences, including their surroundings, and including the individuals that you come across. So I think that that's really, for me, a way that it started to be a bit more gray as to, what was real and virtual, because I started to feel as if we were sitting in the same room talking, and obviously we were, a couple thousand miles away. So that was an experience for me. Sure.
It is a very interesting experience. And Tammy, earlier you were talking about the diversity of cultures that have visited Manpower Island, and I'm hoping that you can speak a little bit more about that, because one thing that Josh South frequently speaks about when we do panels and reports and that sort of thing is about the fact that people will mimic in the metaverse their own cultural traditions and mores, in the sense that, for example, Brazilian avatars, people from Brazil, will stand closer to one another than, for example, American avatars, because culturally that manifests itself in the physical world. And so there's this real opportunity here to study the way people interact culturally in an environment that is physically safe, meaning you can log out at any time if something gets too strange or too much for you, but yet it